What's your reporting on why Shane Steichen decided to bench Anthony Richardson and then a day later say it's for the foreseeable future?
I think it's pretty simple. It's obvious to everybody in that building that he's the best option for right now. And I think the conundrum here is sort of the Trey Lance conundrum, right? Like where you have a quarterback, and I don't want to scare people with that name, but you have a quarterback who needs reps, but he's clearly not the best option for the team. And oh, it sounds good, like the idea you take your young quarterback and you stick with him through thick and thin, and you see it out and everything else. The problem is, there's 50 other guys in that locker room who don't play that position. And those guys don't care about your 3-year plan. They don't care about what your quarterback position looks like in 2026. They want to win right now. They want to be put in position to succeed individually right now, which sets them up, to make money as professional athletes going forward. And so I think kind of came to the point for the Colts where they could not sell Anthony Richardson as the answer over Joe Flacco to the locker room based on what those two guys had done on the field through the first couple of months of this year. So I think the hope is that going forward, Anthony Richardson's able to take a breath and sit and learn, and Joe Flacco gives them the level of play that Cleveland got from Joe last year and the level of play that they've gotten from Joe in spots over the first couple months of the season.
All right, 2 questions based off of that answer. First one, the admission that he was tired and then he took himself out for one play. Did that play anything into this?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I know it's like kind of the low-hanging fruit that all of us are going to grab for.
Right.
Just talking to people in that building, Rich, I think it's like Anthony Richardson's a good kid. He's also a little naive. He's a small town kid who, didn't play a ton in college. And so, I think they sort of chalked this up to as a learning experience. He didn't know any better, and, I think going through this now, obviously he's learned. And look, like you and I have all heard the same things. I mean, it's like Tom Brady used to say, right? Like the only way I can show my toughness as a quarterback to other NFL players is through availability. It's through my ability to continue to answer the bell within reason every time out. And, Brady said that because he knew his left guard is fighting through something that he's not dealing with. His tight end, his receiver, and all those guys have jobs that physically are more demanding than his, and so I 100% agree with the premise that it's incumbent on the quarterback to be in there to answer the bell on every play. And Anthony Richardson made a huge mistake in tapping out of the game. That said, I don't think that there was any sort of ill intent here. I think it was just a young guy who, for better or worse, didn't know any better.
And now he's in the mode of, sit back, you can learn, take a beat mode. But that's what last year was supposed to be for. And then he shows up this year, and he didn't look at all like he did in the first month of last year when he came out of the box and was scoring touchdowns with his legs and with his arm and looking like Cam Newton 2.0. Coming out of the SEC. And so that's my question for you here is, you mentioned Trey Lance. Boy, it would have been great if the league had a development program for somebody like him. Why won't the league try and figure that out? Or where are we on that front now that we're seeing 2 of the top 4 picks from last year get benched? And
you want to call it what it is?
What
the
is
NFL didn't want to pay for NFL Europe.
That's it?
I mean, like, as I see it, look, like the NFL's golden goose is college football. College football, they basically put college football in charge of developing these kids and making them stars and to making the NFL draft a sellable commodity, which I think you and I would agree it might be the second biggest event the league has now outside of the Super Bowl. College football does all of these things for the NFL. But it's also not a college football's coach to develop a player for the league. It's part of his job, but his job is to win games, And so sometimes these guys do make it to the league and they're a little bit raw because unlike, the G League and in basketball, the minor leagues, and baseball, the minor leagues, and hockey, the minor leagues in football, they're not their job is the primary function of the people at that level. Their job is not to develop the kid for the next level. It's just the harsh reality of it, So there are going to be kids who are going to come in and be completely ready to play in the NFL, and then there are going to be others that are less ready. And the way to solve it is to have a developmental league. And the NFL did have a developmental league. And that developmental league, unfortunately, was something that they couldn't figure out a way to monetize. So they decided to pull the plug on it. So now it's on somebody else to figure out a way to create a developmental league. And I mean, how many stabs have people taken at this in a sport that's really hard to monetize if you're not the NFL, right? Or you're not college football and you don't have that established system. You don't have that established fan base, because football is an expensive sport to put on. It's not like basketball or soccer. Like the amount of infrastructure that you need to run a football league is massive. You're asking somebody else to do now what you weren't willing to do, which is take a loss to develop football players. That to me is the issue, because I think for a lot of these guys, the problem isn't like they're not getting enough practice time. Now the practice rules are part of it at certain positions, but I think a lot of the kids, and Anthony Richardson would be at the top of this list, a lot of the kids just need to go and play. And, a Shane Steichen cannot take a full season and say, yep, we're going to throw everything overboard. Sorry, Michael Pittman. Sorry, Alec Pierce. Sorry, Jonathan Taylor. Sorry, Quentin Nelson. We're taking this whole season and throwing it overboard in the name of developing Anthony Richardson. He'll lose the team in a second if he does that. So there needs to be some function. There needs to be something to develop these guys. And the NFL used to have it. And, in the end, I mean, if we're going to call it what it is, the NFL owners decided to prioritize their ability to monetize that league over one of its primary functions at the time, which was to develop talent.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.